Are you excited? Yes. Me too. It's so nice to see all of you out here. Good evening. My name is Jennifer Summers, and I'm the Director of Education at Houston Ballet. And we are just about into our second production in our 50th anniversary season. And this is a very exciting night for all of us because we're about to talk to the choreographers and designers, actually, of the two world premieres that we'll see in the locally grown, world-renowned program. I want to introduce my panel before we get started. I guess I always like to remind, just turn off all your noise making. And then if you need to leave at any time, there's doors to the right and to the left of the chairs. I will start with Deisha. Deisha Zhang is here in the middle. I'm going to read this just to make sure I get it right. Deisha Zhang graduated with a modern dance choreography degree from the Beijing Dance Academy. She went on to dance professionally with the Beijing Modern Dance Company before turning to choreography. She has won awards for her choreography in China, as well as the Choreography Award at the International Ballet Competition in 2018. Her world premiere for Houston Ballet is her first commission for an American ballet company. So welcome to Deisha. And just to my left is a very familiar face to those of you who've been coming to Houston Ballet. You know Liao Zhang as a dancer from her time at the Houston Ballet, and I recently saw a picture of you when in a hard hat and a tutu when this building was opened in 2011. Just yesterday, I think. So she was with both Houston Ballet and the Houston Ballet Academy. And Liao recently graduated from UT Austin and has been serving as Deisha's translator while she's been setting her piece here. So welcome home. And I probably really don't need to introduce Oliver Halkowicz, but I'm going to anyway. Oliver joined Houston Ballet in 2002, was promoted to soloist in 2008, and to first soloist in 2018. He has choreographed several works for Houston Ballet Academy, and with Connor Walsh and Melody Minetti, founded REACH, and I'm going to quote them here, a platform for dancers and choreographers to challenge their creativity while giving back to the community. And I'll just say I am personally very grateful for Oliver and REACH. For their last performance, they donated $11,000 to ECE's X3 Explore, Extend, Excel program. And this is Oliver's first commissioned work for Houston Ballet. And to his left is someone whose magic you have seen quite a bit on Houston Ballet's stage, but maybe not in person before. This is Monica Guerra. Let me turn my page, make sure I get it all. She's created several costume designs for Houston Ballet, including Garrett Smith's Reveal, Melissa House, The Third Kind is Useless, and Stanton Welch's A Doll's House. She collaborates with Mr. Smith regularly and has also created designs for Houston Grand Opera and Ballet Austin. And you can regularly find her in Houston Ballet's wardrobe department making magic with fabric and paint. So please welcome this extraordinary panel. Because this is our 50th anniversary season, we're going to start each dance talk with a little bit of historical context. And so we're going to talk... it seems odd maybe to be talking about world premieres when this season, really Stanton has curated a season that reflects the company's first 50 years. So it's somewhat odd to think, well, why new work if this is a historical season? And it's precisely because this company has, from its get-go, been dedicated to creativity and the importance of new work for the dancers and audience alike. In our tenure, we've had 3 choreographer directors in James Clouser, Ben Stevenson, and Stanton Welch. And all of those directors were committed to creating work themselves and inviting guest artists to create work that challenged the dancers creatively and allowed the audience to see how this art form of ballet that we love so much can be pushed in different directions. I would say that it's not only this kind of work that challenges the dancers and the company and the audience is also been something that our community has consistently supported. So from our get-go, we talked about this a little bit last year, that it was last dance talk, that it was the community of Houston that really said it's time for Houston Ballet Foundation to become a professional company. And throughout the years, the community has been the one that said, yes, we want this new work. We're ready to support it. We will fund it. We will raise money for it. We will make sure that Houston is a place where we can be pushing the boundaries of ballet. And like that is still true today. And we have 2 sets of donors to thank for the pieces that these 2 choreographers created. Anne and Albert Chow underwrote Deisha Zhang's piece, and Stephanie and Frank Tesuru underwrote Oliver's piece. So we're very, very grateful to them. All right, it's your turn. So make sure your mic is on. And we'll give a chance for Deisha and Liao to pass the microphone back and forth to each other. So to both of you, Oliver and Deisha, I want to start by asking you a little bit about your choreographic influences. Whose work has inspired you, and whose work maybe can we see influences of in your choreography? And Oliver, you can go ahead and start maybe.
Hi. Liao said she would also translate for me if things go bad. So I started dance with in jazz and tap classes, and that has always been kind of the backbone of my sort of dance knowledge and how I look at dance and ballet. I also went to the Miami City Ballet School and then to the San Francisco Ballet School, which were predominantly George Balanchine influenced and Jerome Robbins. So I think that and a kind of a real American dance vibe is really kind of instilled in me. What happened? Oh, everyone went. We were looking at Balanchine all of a sudden. So yeah, and I definitely with this piece, because I thought about what it meant to choreograph on a ballet company, and I had a long time to kind of stew over it. Stanton asked me to make the piece in October in Dubai of last year when we were on tour in Dubai. So I've had almost a year to kind of think about this and think about all the things and why I like ballet and why I like dance and what's happening in dance, and so that's all in there. But my influences are broad, and there's Bob Fosse and Merce Cunningham, and then there's Quentin Tarantino and Wes Anderson. You know, I saw that new Quentin Tarantino film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I watched that and I said that one day I've always kind of wanted to make like be the ballet version of Tarantino, and I'm not there yet, but I'm gonna get there. It's gonna get bloodier, it's gonna get worse. Yeah.
What about you, Deisha?
要说起来，先说，大家好，我是张迪莎。
Hello everyone, my name is Deisha.
Okay. 然后我那个在大学的时候就已经看过很多全世界很多现代舞编导的作品。
So I had the opportunities to see a lot of different works from choreographers around the world when I was in college at the Beijing Dance Academy.
然后我们在大学的时候，还有我在现代舞团的时候，也跟很多国外的编导合作过。
And I had the opportunity to collaborate some of them in college and also during my years at the Beijing Modern Dance Company.
也许他们就是在潜移默化地影响着我。
Perhaps that has had some influence over me.
但是对于我个人来说，我比较喜欢伊日基里安和那个马兹艾克。
Personally, for me, Urit Kilian serves as a huge inspiration.
还有一些现代舞的一些编导，还有 Crystal Pipe 现在非常年轻的一个
Also
编导。
Christopher Pike, a lot of pure contemporary choreographers for me.
还有就是大家都知道的 Pina
And Pina.
有很多，其实有很多编导都在影响着我。
I got influenced by a lot of different choreographers.
但是对于我影响最大的还是我的大学老师。
Yeah, but the most important figure for me would be my university professor, Miss Wang Mei.
王梅，对，因为他是教会了我是，如果说其他的编导都各有各的特色，但是他会告诉我你如何去看这个作品。
Okay. All other choreographers, they would have their own trends or personality, but my professor Wang Mei really gave me the eye of how to appreciate and how to find my own choreographer style.
对，大概就是这样。
Yeah, that'll be it.
So for each of you also, when Stanton commissioned you to create this new work, where did you start? What was your inspiration?
I think for me, it always starts with music. So for probably 6 months, I listened to everything on iTunes. My piece is sponsored by iTunes. Thank you, Apple. That's fine. So I really wanted to do, because we have this beautiful orchestra, I really was set on doing an orchestral work, and I just couldn't find it. And I think it was just where I am right now as kind of a new choreographer, and I didn't feel confident enough to take something like a Prokofiev or a Shostakovich. And we have Catherine, what's Catherine's last name? Siscon. Catherine, who is our kind of chief pianist here, she would send me music constantly, and the music was so wild, and I'd be like, I didn't know how to approach that and not make it look like something that I had seen before. So, what was the question?
Inspiration, music.
Inspiration. I had a long day. We had a rehearsal. So I started with the music, and then it was because I had so long, and I just kind of kept thinking about what's going on in my life, what's going on in our world, and what's going on in the ballet world, and I thought those are all kind of colliding right now for me. And I think there's a lot of change in all of it that I'm seeing, and I think it's because I'm 36. And I'm like listening to more things now, and interested. I kind of, in my 20s, I was more insular, and I think that's also ballet is a very kind of insular world, and I think everything's opening right now. And I listen to a lot of podcasts. If you talk to Harper Waters, I start every sentence with, so in this podcast. And, a lot of them are dance-oriented, and there's a lot of talk about what's happening in dance and what's changing, and how ballet is progressing. And so I just kind of thought about all these things and put it all into 15 minutes. So
Get ready.
Get ready.
Deisha, what about for you?
当我介绍到这个邀请的时候，正好那个时候我听到一个非常我喜欢的音乐，就是我现在用的这个音乐。
So I happened to hear this beautiful piece of music that I'm using now while get the invitation from Stanton.
所以我当时就是顺着这个音乐的想法往下再写。
So I just went ahead with the music that I'm using right now.
对，然后这个音乐。其实一开始的时候听的时候会，觉得它很平。
So the music itself, when you listen to it in the beginning, it sounded pretty flat. We don't have a lot of ups and downs.
但是你仔细的听下去之后，会有一种很浓烈的情感在里面。
But if you started to listen to it carefully again and again, you actually find this very strong emotion within the music.
我在里面听到了一种孤独的感觉。
I actually heard a sense of loneliness in the music.
对，它有一种流动的感觉，因为它一直在重复， 所以我想到了时光的流失的感觉，一直是在一个重复，但是因为它的重复，然后把这个一种情绪变得很浓烈。
So the rhythm itself repeats a lot, and then towards that, I got a sense of time flows within the repetitive of the rhythm.
所以我其实对这个音乐感兴趣，在于我挺想要知道它为什么会有这种力量，所以我选择了这个音乐，也选择了一种挑战。
What I find curious is why would a music that's so repetitive, that sounds so flat, would actually have this kind of energy of a strong emotion in it. So that's why I chose it, and I took a big challenge for myself as well.
因为在我漫长的编舞的这么多年里面，然后我是从每个阶段过来，我在很年轻的时候会喜欢一些比较动作化的、很大起伏的东西，但是现在就是一路编过来之后，到我现在这个阶段，我会受这种影响，就是会受这种东西的吸引，因为它特别不一样。它没有特别大的起伏，不按正常出牌，就是它有一些不一样，很特别，然后同时它也很吸引我，所以我就选择了它。
一种情绪上的表达。
对，情绪上的表达。
I'll do my best. Okay. So towards the maybe earlier career as a choreographer, I tend to be attracted or tend to express myself through movements, lots of movement on the body. But then later on, as for now, the music itself attracts me to emphasize on a state of emotion. So rather than focus on the movement itself, I tend to focus on express this strong sense of emotion through the piece, through the music.
So a follow-up question for you, Deisha. What did you know about Houston Ballet before you came, and what about your piece and the inspiration for it changed once you got here and met the dancers?
来休斯顿芭蕾舞团之前有没有听说过这个团？然后同时这个作品在你到达之后有没有一些改变？
好。我来之前其实对这个舞团并不是很了解，对，然后我只是一直在听说这个团，对，
要提你之前看到的螺珠吗？
可以啊。
So before I came over, I don't know a lot about Houston Ballet. I've heard it multiple times. And then I believe she mentioned this before. When she was little, she saw a part of the balcony pas de deux from Romeo and Juliet on the Chinese television, the dance channel. And it was with the Houston Ballet, and that left her a great impression. 然后当你过来的时候，这个作品有没有任何的改变？就是跟你之前的方向，看到演员了以后。
按照我一贯性的习惯，就是我会有一个想法，然后我会准备好我的这个方向，然后来跟演员合作。但是我的工作方式比较特殊，就是希望从演员身上去找到他们会启发我，然后我们应该确切的来说，不是我一个人的作品，应该是我们共同创作的作品。
So before she came over to the ballet, she had a preliminary idea on the piece, but because of the special way that she creates dances, she likes to find inspirations from the dancers. So, once she came here, it took her a long time to get to know the dancers and get inspired with them. So she would call this a collaborative piece instead of something that she created on her own.
That's a great transition into a question for both of you regarding the movement vocabulary. So this is I mean, we're looking at both sets of costumes, and we'll get to detail on Monica's in a minute, but we're probably not neither piece is a super classical piece. So I guess, can we talk a little bit about the movement vocabulary and whether you used improvisation at all with the dancers? I like the idea to hear more about the collaborative element with the dancers, and I don't know if you had that at all as well, Oliver.
I mean, I obviously know our dancers very well, and what I've made is an ensemble piece, but it very much is it's a piece about about our dancers, and I wanted to show off our dancers. I think it's popular now to make big ensemble pieces, and choreographers like to really work with formation and how a big group moves around the stage, and I think that's beautiful. But because I've been watching our dancers, some for many, many, many years and some for less, but I just wanted to watch them dance kind of by themselves and with each other, but as individuals. So I'm very inspired by who was in front of me. I don't work with improvisation, but I show like very little. Like I'll give, and I mean the people, Harper and Natalie can attest. Like I'll be like, you know, and they're like, and then they have to make something from that, you know, because I don't want to watch myself doing my dance, you know. I want to watch how they would do it. So, I mean, so it's they really have to use their imagination when they see, you know, and there's a lot. You know, I also love Mark Morris. And Mark Morris, he's come here before. We're actually doing a Mark Morris piece this year that he created on our company. And he's a wild man and wears a scarf and is sometimes so volatile and horrible, but amazing. And I hope he's not listening to this. But you know, he's very like, he'll have the music in front of him and he's a lot of hands. So I tried to be Mark Morris. So I don't know what the point of that was, but yeah, the piece is broken. I would try to do it as if it was divertissements from a ballet. So there's 7 small tracks. Each one has its own kind of feeling. You know, so the Sleeping Beauty, for instance. I'm going to reference only ballets we're doing this
Excellent.
season.
Good choice.
But you know, in a ballet like the Sleeping Beauty, there's several fairies that come out, and each one has their own temperament and does a variation, and that's how I approached making this dance. There is different divertissements with different temperaments that create one piece.
And is it on point?
Yes, the women are on point, and I started really wanting to make a ballet, and then I didn't know what that meant. I don't know what is a ballet and what is a contemporary dance. Is that a point shoe? Is that I'm using ballet steps, but I'm also using voguing and you know, like hip hop. So I don't know what it is to make a ballet anymore.
So you know what, we were talking, I'm going to ask another follow-up question to you. We were talking about how you didn't pick classical music, but we didn't hear from you exactly why you made the musical choice you did from which you created those divertissements.
I mean, I picked the music because it's percussive and it speaks to how I hear music, which is, I think, because of my jazz and tap background, I hear the underneath more than I hear the top. So I like to choreograph to, you know, Deisha kind of spoke to this about, you know, having she doesn't have sort of a bass in her piece, and she, you know, it's more the feeling on top, and I really have a strong kind of beat throughout, and each piece has a different time signature, but they're all very kind of bass heavy. So then I had to bring something to layer on top of that. So the dancers are kind of the melody on top of the driving beat. And that's all.
And it's Moondog.
Yeah. Jennifer, I'm sorry today.
No, keep going.
She got me. Yeah, the music is Moondog. Moondog was a blind sort of street performer who moved to New York and lived there from, I think, the 40s to the 70s, and then went off to Europe and dressed as a Viking. And that spoke to me. I mean, eclectic nature of Moondog and wearing a costume and being blind and kind of navigating in this wild city of New York. I liked that narrative, and he has this span of music, and I listened to all of it, and it's all over the map. And that also spoke to me as I'm pulling from all these things in my life, and it couldn't be one thing. So we're going on a little journey in 15 minutes, and he gave me that with all this different stuff.
So Deisha, for you, going back to the dancers and that collaborative process and the use of improvisation, if you can elaborate on that a little bit.
就是你的这次的动作的特殊性，然后包括和舞者之间的合作，他们这种自主编创的一个形式，给大家讲一讲。就是 improvise， 就是你比如说给他一个概念，然后他自己把这些动作编出来。
对，我这个作品的名字叫Elapse， 是关于流失、时间流失的东西。先说一个大概的，是关于一个时间流逝不再回头，是一个非常比较有一点悲伤的情绪。
Yeah, so in general, we decided to name this piece Elapse. It's about time going away, never coming back. It's a piece that's filled with a sense of loneliness and sorrowness.
因为时光流失，仔细想起来，我们都在时光流失当中，所以时光流逝是一种很静默的感觉。其实它不会敲锣打鼓的时光流逝。每个人就时光的流淌，它是很安静的，在一直流淌，我们都在其中。
So think about this. We all live with the sense of losing our time, and then it's a very subtle movement, just like the music. It's never too loud, too obvious, but it just keep flowing away quietly.
我觉得对于我来说，这次的编舞，我自己想要找到一些动作，不需要跳动作，就是不需要大跳，然后就是一个很安静的一个非常准确的，能把这个东西表达出来的东西。但是这样往往是很难，就是你不需要去跳，然后就一个行为或者说一个简单的一个什么东西就能把它说清楚，这种东西是非常难找的。
For me personally, we are trying to find relatively simple but precise movement to capture this quality of time flowing, without a grand petit allegro, big jumps or throws, just simple, subtle movement to express this kind of feeling. Okay. It can be a simple look, a simple expression.
对，其实是会有一些抽象的概念在里面，对，因为树枝是一个很具象的、跟人没有关系的东西。
And it can be very conceptual.
然后他的服装，我们的服装会，穿一个生活服装。
And as we can tell from our costume, it's all street clothes, normal real life costume.
然后，但是他们头上戴着树枝。其实这整体看下来就已经是一个很抽象的概念。
Yeah, and then as you notice the dead branches on the head itself, it's a pretty conceptual expression.
这个作品是以一种情绪为主要的东西，就是主线情绪。
So like she mentioned before, the piece of work focuses on a emotion instead of the movement itself.
所以没有特别大的结构的起伏。
We don't have huge movement in terms of structure or movement itself, but rather that constant emotion of loneliness, sorrowness when you're losing the time.
但是我希望这个作品就是看完之后会有一种很浓烈的表达，就是其实它淡淡的，但是你仔细想起来，应该是一个非常强烈的。就是很浓烈的一种情绪。
We really hope to convey the strong sense of emotion of losing something through the relatively simple movements and also the quiet and repetitive music.
大概就是这些内容，对。
That's it.
So in terms of the movement vocabulary, and how did the dancers contribute to that? Were they involved in creating the simple movements, or was it something that you got to know them and helped them develop movement that would personally be significant for them?
就是我怎么喜欢舞者的，对吗？这个要来介绍一下我自己本人。这个要说起来，就是我跟演员的合作方式，我要从我自己的工作方式开始说起。就是我自己是一个本身喜欢，就是从演员身上去找东西的一个编导，所以我会有自己的想法，但是我会带着这种问题，然后来跟舞者去工作。然后我如何跟他们工作呢？就是我会。
Okay, so this goes back to my way of my way of collaborating with dancers. So I really love to have some sort of preliminary idea. So I gave them, let's say, a list of vocabulary, but then I collaborate with them to find the whole sentence.
对，我一直相信一句话，就是光靠一个人的这个智慧是不够的，就是要去接收到更多的其他的可能性。
I've always believed in the sentence that one man's wisdom is never enough.
然后其实有很多，就是在演员跟他们合作的同时，其实我也在整合自己的，就不停的细化自己的过程。
And I also learn new things and then improve myself while collaborating and getting inspirations from the dancers.
所以我需要合作的演员是他们能给予我很多，他们的参与感很强。
So I really would love to collaborate with dancers who has a lot of their own personality, just like the dancers here with the Houston Ballet.
对，所以就是，对你已经说了。然后还有一点就是，我觉得就是。比如说我是现代舞编导，如果我编出来的东西，然后直接交给演员，其实并不是一个很好的合作的方式。对。
So my profession is more in pure contemporary dance, and then I really do not wish to have a set choreography in mind and then just simply teach it to dancers. I don't feel like that would go great.
因为我也不能做芭蕾舞动作。
Yeah, because I'm never a ballet dancer, and I know with ballet dancers they have their own sort of movements and features.
很感谢演员们的给予我很多的帮助和耐心。
And I really want to say thank you to Houston Ballet dancers that gave me a lot of patience and a lot of feedback and inspirations.
All right, so I had the pleasure of seeing some of these before I saw what you guys saw when you walked in. So Monica, I've been dying to talk to you about this. So tell me how the conversation went with Oliver when he approached you to design this piece, because these are super fun.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. So we had a very interesting conversation. I always love to, when I first speak to a choreographer, I like to ask, what are a few keywords that you would like your piece to represent? And it could be anywhere from athletic, feminine, classic, anything. And Oliver said David Bowie. He said 80s. And he said definitely a lot of color. He's a Floridian. He loves color. So especially a lot of turquoise and pinks. So that is definitely, you can definitely see that through my designs here. And it's just been an amazing collaboration. I mean, he's such an artist himself. He let me kind of he just let me loose, kind of. And since I do work here, I do know dancers. I know some more than others, some better than others, but I know their style or I have a sense of their personality. So a lot of times I did design based on the dancer, something that I knew they would love, or I would love to see, that on them, or something that they could just have fun with. And so that just kind of it just took off from there. And
So you had concepts and then you folded in specific dancers into the designs?
yes, and as Oliver said, it's a 7 short tracks, and so he explained to me about temperaments, and some are dealing with a little bit more anxiousness. Some are, some tracks are about more freedom, expressing yourself. So I took every single thing about every person and every track, what he wanted to represent. And then I just he made me a CD of the music early on as well. So I only have a CD player in my car. And so I couldn't wait to get in my car so I could listen to it, with fresh ears every single time, coming to work, going to the store, wherever I was going. So I always listened to it and constantly. And so that was this huge inspiration. So I would constantly almost imagine myself seeing steps, even though I hadn't seen anything yet. But that's part of the collaboration. You're being inspired by everything, and color is I'm definitely a color person. So color was a huge inspiration.
And Oliver, when you saw the designs, what did you think?
I mean, she kept saying, you can tell me, you can give me notes or whatever, and I was like, I love them. And I mean, Monica changed, or not so much the design, but we were looking for specific materials. So things changed color-wise and sort of pattern-wise. But I mean, what you did originally form-wise is kind of still there. But I was like, let's go for it.
And I like that you said form, because when I looked at the designs, this one right here looks like it has added volume, I guess is the word I'm looking for, as well as that one. I mean, because I also know the dancers. And
I mean, I did want to, I wanted to see the body. I mean, it's a very dance-forward piece. I didn't want to lose form and line. But I wanted it to be as wild as we could go with keeping the shapes of the bodies. And I also wanted to reference, like tutu. I mean, this is like a little bit like kind of, not a tutu, but like there's a modern version of a tutu. So I wanted to sort of modernize, and then there's also a throwback to 70s and 80s. I think time is ebbing and flowing, and this piece is set nowhere except in my time, which is who knows where. But no, Monica's been amazing, and every time she sent me a picture, I was like, yes.
Yes, and.
Yeah. I mean, the piece is fantasy. I mean, I want theater for me, and dance, when it really talks to me, is fantasy. I mean, the realism today is scary, so I that's in there. I mean, I can't avoid that, but I wanted to bring fantasy to the not great reality of things.
So, Deisha, yours are quite different. I think it's interesting that they're both talking about time, but in a really different way, right? So there's like a timelessness to Oliver's conversation and a losing of time in Deisha's, which is just something we'll have to consider when we're watching. But your costumes really couldn't be more different. Deisha got to go to the Galleria. You can't come to Houston without going to the Galleria, and you went. And so can you talk to us a little bit about the juxtaposition of the very pedestrian clothes with what I think of as their branches on their heads? So natural versus human.
在最早的时候，我有2个对服装的想法，一个是就是完全抽象的，就是看上去不像人，对，然后另外一种就是想的就是完全是生活中的人，然后只是带着这个树枝，然后我到了芭蕾舞，你先翻译。
So in the beginning, I actually had two different thoughts in costume. One is pure conceptual, maybe completely the non-human creature side of it, and the other one is pure real life, which is end up to be the route that we decided to went.
所以其实是演员给我们合作了前几天之后，然后我决定用的这个方案。然后他会有一种感觉，就是你跟就是完全是一个生活中的人，然后带着这个树枝，他会有一种强烈的反差，就是这个东西好像跟他人本身没有关系，一个是从生活中然后你带着一个完全抽象的东西，所以它有一个很大的反差。
So the dead branch itself actually still represents the more conceptual side of the piece. While, a few days after I collaborate with the dancers here, I decided to let them to go, the pure real life routes in a costume.
在第一个方案，如果我要是用了一个完全抽象的方案的话，那它只是一个就是抽象的概念而已。但是现在对于我来说，它就多了一层意思，因为它跟人的生活有关系，然后只是从人的生活，它就变成了一种代表，就是一种意味在里面。它并不实，其实它是一种抽离的表现。
So also with my first impression on the pure conceptual side, with time losing, I think this happens within everybody's real life, and I do not just want it to be a concept. I want to really express the sense of losing time in real life.
大概就是这样，其实。
Yeah, most likely to be. Can I add something? So this afternoon we were trying costumes, and then we had one dancer try on the suits, and then he said, "I look exactly like my grandfather." And Deisha said, "Yes, that's exactly what we're looking for."
And so the concept of the headpiece speaks of the natural world to me. Is there an element of connecting the elapsing of time in nature as well through the headpiece at all?
我觉得这个问题不要说的太实，就是现在去说它，也许我希望就是对于这个枯树枝戴在头上的这个效果，我希望每个人有每个人自己的想法。对，对于我来说，对于我自己来说，我觉得它只是一种意味，就是它象征着什么。
So we do want to leave a little bit more space of imagination on that, so everyone sees it differently when you see it. For me personally, it brings me a sense of flavor, and then it can be different symbolization for different people.
Great. So the audience gets to be a collaborator also. That's very cool. Oliver, I wanted to ask you one more question, just sort of the transition of that maybe, what did it feel like to go from being choreographed on with your peers and then moving to the front of the room and being the choreographer? Were there some challenges or just other feelings about that?
Melody, Connor, and myself last year did a piece for the George R. Brown program. So I had worked in this capacity before. I think no matter if it's dancers you know or don't know, there's like real vulnerability when you walk to the front of the room, especially when you're asking dancers to get on board with something you're trying to make, and they're at kind of not a disservice, but they haven't been in the planning of it, so they have to get on board with something you want to make that maybe they don't want to make, so there is I think that is just how it goes, and you have to thankfully I'm sure Deisha can speak to this too. It's wildly open here at Houston Ballet of what dancers will do and are gung-ho for. And it helps that I know them. So I'm very thankful and grateful that they are kind of going along for this ride, because I really still feel it's crazy that I'm doing this. You know, I've been doing these masters of choreography all my life, and then to be at the front of the room making a dance just seems wild to me. So to ask people to get on board, whether I know them or not, is scary. But it's wonderful here. So I have had that's why the piece is what it is, and I think it's fun and interesting, is because of our dancers.
What about you, Deisha? What's your experience been like working with the dancers here?
你跟这边舞者合作的这个经历，应该咋分享？
这个经历，对，好，我想一想。你在公众。
Houston Ballet in particular.
对，我之前其实也给汉堡芭蕾舞团和那个斯坦尼芭蕾舞团，还有中国的一些团队合作过。这边的舞者最大的不同就是他们非常的专业，很认真，然后学动作非常的快，然后他们会全身心的去支持你的想法，无论你的想法有多么的奇怪。
So I also worked with the Hamburg Ballet, National Ballet of China, Stanton Ballet before, but I think in particularly for the Houston Ballet dancers, they're just professional and they really devote themselves with you, no matter how weird or how wild your idea is, they devote themselves into the dance.
对，因为我的工作方式比较特别，可能跟普通的编导不太一样，但是他们给了我很大的这个耐心和支持。
Because of my special way of working, they really gave me a lot of patience and support.
对，在之前我每次工作的时候会经历一个低谷，因为我是一个很慢的人，我会每次做作品的时候，我会经过一个挣扎期，所以我的慢呢，其实就是慢在就是我需要足够的时间去度过那个挣扎期。对，如果要是我没有足够的时间，我会停滞在一个半完成状态，就是你会看到一个不太完整的、不太成熟的作品。所以就是在一开始我们工作的时候会遇到这种情况，就是演员不知道我在干什么，然后每天都在改。他们刚把今天的动作学会，然后我第二天进排练厅，然后我就已经全部推翻了昨天排练的东西。
And also, as a choreographer, I wouldn't say I'm a fast choreographer. I have to be through this low time on my creation every single time when I choreograph a new piece. So with the dancers, in the beginning, they might get very lost. I gave relatively vague instructions instead of a set choreographers for everyone to learn. So they can be very lost in the beginning, and right on the next day, if I decided it doesn't look good, I change it right away. So I really received a lot of patience and support from them.
非常感谢演员给我的这些支持。
And I am very thankful to work with such an amazing group of dancers here.
Great. All right. So now we'll turn the question and answer over to you. So if there's anything that you want to know from these wonderful choreographers and designers, just remember that I like to repeat the question into the microphone to be sure everyone hears it. Who has a question? Yeah. So the question is about the headpieces. Will we see the white headbands that are underneath the branches on stage?
不会，不会带着这个上去。这个是为了去固定它的最好方式。这个是我从中国带来的，然后我在准备的时候买了很多，然后我就直接带过来了，因为会节约很多的制作的时间我就直接进排练了。
We will have elastics, but nothing like that. This is actually popular Chinese beauty product that she brought from China to, just to secure it in rehearsal. This thing supposedly lift your face, and then she just thought it's
You
such
should
a.
see the dancers lately. They look
Oh
great.
yes.
I've been wearing it.
This is just for practice.
This is more like what we'll see on stage with the thinner elastic. Okay. Yeah.
How did Stanton learn of Deisha? How do we know about her wonderful work?
Deisha, where did you originally meet Stanton at IBC?
我之前没有见过他，然后应该我们见过，但是我们互相没有做介绍，就是没有说话。我们在那个尼金斯基戛纳见过一次，那是我应该是15年的时候就有过一缘之缘，但是那个时候因为不知道是什么机缘，我们没有说上话。然后这一次是因为我有一个作品拿了一个那个，你就可以告诉他们，对对对。
So they perhaps met briefly at the Nijinsky Gala, was it 2015? But they never talked before. And then this year, I guess one of her work won a choreographer award at the Jackson International Ballet Competition, and that's I guess where Stanton see the work and decided to invite her.
Stanton served as a judge at the 2018 IBC, International Ballet Competition.
I'd like to ask the choreographers, do they see or imagine the movements, or do they feel it in their body? How
That's a great
does
question.
that translate?
The question is, do the choreographers see the movements that they want to put on the dancers, or do they feel them in their bodies? Oliver, you want to take that?
I definitely see the movement, but it almost never ends up the way I saw it, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I think you can see all you want in your head. What's amazing about choreography is that you've got to talk to someone in front of you and talk about dance, and they have to interpret it. So it always, there's a change, and that's what I love. If it's not that interesting if I just say, do this step. So it's the dancer's interpretation that I think is what brings life and what, kind of brings them into the work.
我直接说，有一些动作是必须要自己去编的，有一些动作是可以在就是脑子里先提前去想，还有一些动作类似于双人舞什么的，就是必须要演员去跟着编导一起去尝试的。
Okay, so it depends on the movement. If it's a solo piece, more of an individual thing, I can, have a preliminary image in my head. But if it's something like a pas de deux, where dancers has to collaborate, then we'll have to see it from dancers.
So my question is, hey Deisha, I'm Jamie Wong. Well, you were being Jianghua. So my question is that for this collaboration between the two major, such one-of-a-kind choreographers, Deisha and Oliver. So was there any moment you two actually came up with anything, like you actually doing things for this whole show?
You mean together, or? So what was there? And the question is about, was there any overlap, I guess, in the choreographic process for the two of you? I mean.
Well, I would say that, so Deisha and I will share an act, as far as in the evening.
The run of the show.
Yeah, in the run of the show. So we had to speak about dancers. There's only 50-some dancers in our company, so I think that's where we collaborated, is in who she wanted to work with and who I wanted to work with, and how we could make that cohesive in the evening, because it's going to be a quick change, right, from one piece to the next. And Deisha came in not knowing our dancers, and I, of course, know our dancers very well. So, but I think, I mean, thankfully we have a company of really great dancers. So it was a discussion of how we could make that work.
We had to bargain a little bit. We had to do a little bargain on dancers. But we're glad, since we had such a strong group of dancers, we end up, getting all the dancers that we would love to work with.
Stanton always says that he wants choreographers when they come to have their absolute pick of whoever they want. That some companies, if there's a lead couple, you're only allowed to pick from the principal dancers for a lead couple. But he really feels like as a choreographer himself, he wants the pick of everybody. So this is a more rare situation where you have to duke it out a little bit.
Well, and there was a lot of kind of carte blanche, but I mean, it's just as far as logistics couldn't work. I mean, you couldn't be in my piece and then quick change into Deisha's or vice versa. So I mean, it was something we had to talk about. But otherwise, you don't get a lot of restrictions at Houston Ballet, which is good.
Yes.
So this is for Minshang. I know China has a really rich history of movement and dance. Do any of the more traditional movements visit your piece?
So the question is about that China has a real, as a long tradition of movement in both a classical and a folkloric sense. Do any traditional movements end up in Deisha's piece?
如果对于我个人来说没有，但是可能别人会看到有，因为我自己，因为我个人是生长在中国的，因为我可能会让别人感觉到我里面有中国元素，对。
So for me personally, I did not intend to use too much influence from traditional Chinese dance to train also as a contemporary dancer. But with the audience, that might change, especially with the music that has a lot of Chinese instrument and elements. So we'll see on stage.
One more.
Oliver, you did something with the Video, the museum. When you did that piece last year, that was done without music, as I remember.
Oh, yeah,
Just
the
choreography. Did that have any influence on you today?
Yeah, the Cottingham that we did at the with the Manil.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is I had never taken any sort of Cottingham. We're talking Merce Cottingham, who's a kind of luminary in modern dance, and I had never experienced any kind of Cottingham training in my years of dance, and we did this kind of quick program in collaboration with the Manil at the Dan Flavin exhibit, and learned this Cunningham work, and it, like, since then, in all my choreography that I've done since then, I'm like extremely influenced by him. The way he worked with space and time, and a lot of the work he did wasn't kind of just for an audience like this. It was, you face this way, you face this way. People are doing, you have no music, and you're doing things, but still very rhythmic. And his form and the what he came up with in his is so unique. And there's a lot of ballet in there. I mean, I think he trained as a ballet dancer. It's there, but where he took that, and the artists he collaborated with.
Learning it without music.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was wild. We didn't know how we were gonna do it. We didn't know, but we did it.
But you think it taught you?
But it taught me a lot. Yeah. There's still parts, like in this piece, that I'll call, that's a Cunningham part.
Because of the vocabulary or the use of the space?
I think both. I think definitely I have not looked at theater the same way. I'm a little bored now at just dancing front, where every ballet, what is beautiful is épaulement in classical ballet, which is, you know, this kind of stuff, that things aren't just straight on. But it's just a little boring to me that we always dance kind of facing you. And why not see
The back.
the back of me or the side of me, you know, and think about that part.
That's brilliant.
Thank you.
So we want to thank you for coming tonight. This program, you have one more weekend to see Giselle with 3 beautiful casts. Do not miss it if you haven't seen it yet, or maybe go see a different cast if you've already seen one. And then very quickly, we roll straight into locally grown, world-renowned, with pieces by these 2 wonderful choreographers who have shared with us immensely tonight with their generosity of their knowledge and their emotions and their passion for this art form, as well as a piece by Edward Liang, Murmuration, that you've seen before, and Passion by Kudelka that Liao was in back in 2013. So it's going to be a magnificent program, a wonderful way to kick off our mixed repertory program. So we hope to see you there, and thank you again for coming tonight.